All right, Wise Guy here, and real quick, today I'm working on the 2009 Lincoln MKS, and my how-to video has now become a how-to not, and I just want to show you real quick where I went wrong so you don't make the same mistake as I did. So I'm servicing the P.T.U on this vehicle. Ford says it's a lifetime fluid, but that has proven to not be the case, as this is a common part to fail on this vehicle. So I have changed this fluid several times on this vehicle throughout owning it, as I'm trying to do preventative maintenance. And the same mistake that I have made is how I go about pumping the fluid into the vehicle. So let's take a look at the video, and this is what not to do. Okay, I'm going to try to access the front of the P.T.U fill location with this tube. Very tight area to work with. Probably can't, oh, maybe you can see better now. And I'm going to try to pump this in. Here it goes. I really wish I had a longer tube. No, it's already starting to drizzle down on me. I'm sure this lighting isn't any better, but hopefully I have the camera. I can't tell if that's a bad angle of the tube, why it's overflowing, or if it's full already. Because this tube is certainly thicker, can pump in a lot more fluid faster than it was coming out through that thin tube. Alright, I'm probably overdoing it. Making a mess, as I suspected. Okay, I had my fill plug on standby. Going to reach over. Hopefully you can see that. So the root of the problem with this is the pump that I bought to get the fluid into the P.T.U fill location. The hose is just too short. If you kind of press your finger into the fill location on the P.T.U, you immediately touch a gear. And because that hose is too short and I'm trying to pump it in from the front location of the P.T.U, it is just pumping the fluid right into the gear and making it come back out, giving me a false sense of how much fluid is in the P.T.U itself. And this is what happens when I go to siphon the fluid out during a change. I hardly see any fluid at all, so I'll show that. Okay, now coming on down here, grab my pneumatic brake bleeder, make this job a bit easier. So I'm going to do the same, reach over this metal piece here and get this thinner tube in there so I can really get in there. There it goes. There it is, working its way to the siphon there. See, really not that much fluid came out. But it is thick, and I got out what I could. So I think just by not putting enough fluid in there definitely made the problem worse. So I am pretty certain that my issues that I'm having performing this service all comes down to this pump that I'm using. I really like this pump compared to the other style where there's a tube on top of the pump and a tube on the bottom of the pump, and you can use it for siphoning or pumping because that thing just caused a mess. It kept tipping over. It was a real pain in the ass. But this, you could see, so I'm making a mess, doesn't come all the way down to the bottom of the particular container that I'm using. So I plan on pre-making different length tubes to go to the bottom of that for the different bottles that I frequently use this pump on. That and the tube that comes with this pump was super short, and I wasn't able to get a good angle inserting that tube into the fill location of the P.T.U. And I am pretty certain that has been my issue every time I'm performing this service, and it's nobody's fault but my own. I'm kind of embarrassed it took me this long to figure it out, but I'm pretty certain that this is going to be the answer. 3/8 outer diameter, 1/4 inch inner diameter, 10-foot tube that I just got at Home Depot. I should be able to position that below the gear that's inside the P.T.U. and properly fill it. All right, new plan of action. This is where I was trying to approach this, filling from this front position of the P.T.U., which you can barely get your hand in. Instead, I'm going to take this new tube and reach over this large metal crossing support bar. I'm going to pull out the excess tubing here. I think right about here I'll clip it. And now, so approaching this from the top, I feel is going to be a much better method. Hopefully we can see this. There we go. It's one thing using a smaller tube when siphoning because it just sucks the smaller tube into the larger tube, but trying to push pressure from a larger tube into a smaller tube was not a good idea. Just pushed the tube right on it out and caused an enormous mess. Just as I suspected, this is taking far more fluid than I thought I had in there. I thought I was full, and that was pretty ignorant. This is taking a lot more fluid. So at least I learned from my mistake, and hopefully this part doesn't fail. I have a random container on standby. Here it's starting to drizzle out. I'm going to pull this tube out while supporting this container so that doesn't tip over right into this
other container to prevent a mess. Still wants to tip over. And I have my plug here on standby, prepared with some thread sealer, some high temperature thread sealer. I'm gonna knock this over. Very limited amount of room to work with here. All right, now that I got that started to prevent it from dripping out, I'm gonna get this out of the way before I tip it over. Maybe relieve some of the pressure from the bottle. And do a little bit of this. Feel like the best access is from reaching over and getting the ratchet on there. You can see I can barely even get my fingertips. There we go. Hopefully we can see that. Definitely don't want to over tighten and risk cracking the cover on the P.T.U. That would be a nightmare. Thread sealers on there. We're just going to go tight, and then hopefully you can see that a little tighter. That's not going anywhere. Just did an oil change, so pretty dirty. Oh yeah. So this siphon does not open up to clean out. All it has is this plug where you can pour the fluid out. You can see that is all the oil that I was able to siphon out of the P.T.U. That is pretty pitiful. I was driving around that entire time with hardly any oil in there at all. As you can see, there's still a lot of gunk in there. So what I will do, I have some degreaser that I purchased from Home Depot. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to swish that around. Can't tip this thing upside down and risk getting some of this degreaser and stuff up in the seals. But I'm just trying to keep my tool nice and clean out a lot of this junk. And don't want to use more degreaser than I would like, as it costs money. So my plan is to recycle this degreaser by pouring it into this container. You can see getting a lot of that excess oil out. I'm going to hook air back up to the siphon. And I want to clean my tubes. Get some degreaser going through the tubes. So I will siphon that degreaser I just poured in that container back into the siphon, which is going through my tubes, getting a little degreaser going through the tubes. You can see these tubes are still very black. This small tube I may just throw away if I can't get it really any cleaner than that. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay. Now the degreaser is back into the siphon. Swishing that around. Just trying to clean this out as best I can, and this is going to be tedious. I'm going to do this over and over as many times as it takes to clean the tool, clean the tubes. Recycling this degreaser quite a few times, and then I'll pour more new degreaser into this container after several times of doing this. I'll just show it one more time. Get the tube in there. Air pressure. And you can see the tubes clearing out a little bit. One more time. I think we get the idea. Okay, so I've done that a few times. Starting to look a bit cleaner inside the siphon. Just on a rag, maybe do a little brake clean. Clean up the outer part of this tubing. Just trying to keep this stuff nice. You can See that black tube is clearing up. We're going to put some new degreaser into the siphon. Okay, here's what I've been recycling through the container and siphon over and over. Pretty nasty stuff, but I cycled it through quite a few times, you know, so we didn't waste more of this degreaser than we need to. So I think this will be the last run. You can see that's how it is when it starts, nice and clear. And it came out oily black. Okay, new degreaser, same routine. Swishing it around. I'll show one time of recycling it through, and that will conclude this video. Okay, nice new degreaser going through the tube. The tube's clearing up pretty good. Oh yeah. So what I ended up doing is just drilling 2 little holes in my oil collecting pan here and just using what's around me. I just grabbed something to suspend this tube up so the oil can just naturally work its way down with gravity. I'll just leave that overnight and just sticking it in here. And my brake clean, it didn't come with the little straw, otherwise I would squirt some of that down the tube here and then follow up with some air. Oh well. This is the last time I cycled it through. You could see we are pretty clean in here. I'll dump it out one more time and just leave this overnight. Some of this stuff will end up collecting, and I'm sure I'll dump it, any residual fluid out in the morning. Back to when I was saying not to tip this upside down and get degreaser up into the seals. I did that. I was trying to just clean all up in there, and this piece just started foaming nasty stuff out of it when I did that. So definitely just keep this upright, swish it around quite a few times, and you can see this is the final product here. Not too nasty. I got my other little tube here. Stick that in there, and I don't know. Hey, how about that? Just let it work its way down overnight and get a rag in there, dry it out, and call that a day. Again, I would have liked to put a little brake cleaner through there. That would be for the next time.
So I will keep you posted on the results of this service. If my P.T.U. does end up failing and having to replace it one day, I'll list that in the information section of the video. But fingers crossed that hopefully this makes the part last a bit longer. I do plan on coming back and doing a full video of siphoning this fluid out and pumping new fluid in at another time. But for now, I can post a link in the information of the video for a video that I followed that was really helpful and was kind of my guidance for doing this. It just didn't really illustrate pumping the fluid back into the P.T.U., and that's where I made my mistake. So I'm hoping this helps somebody else out there. So this is Wise Guy. Appreciate you watching.